Before you start your weaving, make sure you write your name and code at the top of your paper with a pencil. When you're ready, flip it over. Take a ruler and make sure that it is matching up with the edge of your paper, and then draw a line underneath. Next, take your ruler, match it up with the bottom of the paper. I'm making sure that that one is matching up with the corner, and then I'm going to draw a little tick mark at each number. Make sure that you're on the inches side for this part, and again just making a little line at each number, so the 2, 3, 4, 5 until you get to the end of the paper. This is to make sure that all of our sections or our warp threads are the same size. And then you're going to take your ruler, match it up with the little tick mark that you made, and draw a line all the way until you get to that very first line that we drew. It's fine if this isn't perfect, just do the best that you can. Then you're going to take some scissors and cut along each line until you get to that top line that we drew, and that's where you're going to stop. Next, you're going to get some paper strips to weave with. This is what your loom or weft thread should look like. Remember, when you start with weaving, you can either start going over the first one or under. I'm going to choose to go over, and then under, over, under, over, under, over, under, until I get to the end. If you have extra, that's fine. We'll cut it off later. And also make sure that you're pushing the strips to the very top so that's nice and tight. Remember, I started with an over. So if I started off with an over, then the next one needs to go under the very first warp thread. So again, every time you start, make sure that you're checking to make sure if you started with an over or an under. If you're not checking, then you might not be doing this right. Again, once you finish off every strip of paper, you're pushing that to the top. Your weaving should look like this. It should look like a checkerboard when it's done. Make sure that you're gluing down the edges of the paper so that your weaving stays together. If you don't glue them down, they might all fall apart. I would wait until you're done weaving all your strips to do this, and then cut off the extra. If you want to be really fancy, you could take these thinner strips and add them to some of your weaving. All I'm doing is just sliding that underneath the orange. I'm not doing anything fancy, just sliding it in. And then I'm going to make sure to glue down the edge and cut off any extra. When I'm all done with my paper strips, I left some room at the bottom here, as you can see, and then I'm just gonna cut those little extra strips to make it look like fringe for my cloth. Next, I'm ready to decorate. You're gonna get this handout that has different patterns and their meanings. So maybe I want to add a little more courage to my life. So I'm just going to do those stripes that it tells me to do. Or maybe you want more strength in your life. or you want a lot of money. There's a wealth one. Wealth means money. So just go ahead and add whatever patterns you want. You can see a lot of these are more geometric, so I'm not doing any like hearts or smiley faces or anything like that. I'm following along with my sheet. And I'm gonna keep drawing until almost my whole cloth is filled in. This is what mine looks like when it's all finished. If you want, you could kind of scrunch up this fringe a little bit to make it more like separated. But other than that, once you're done, if it's really wet, you could put it on the drying rack. Otherwise, have fun.